Hi everyone, welcome to Camila Cava Food Photography Podcast, a place where I interview talents in food photography world to learn ins and outs of the industry to help you and myself grow a food photography career. On today's podcast, I talk with a food photographer, stylist, educator, and founder of a popular adventures in cooking food blog, Eva Kosmas Flores. Adventures in Cooking has been nominated for Best Food Blog Awards by Saveur and has been featured in BuzzFeed, Glamour, Bon Appetit, The Kitchen, and more. She has a loyal following of journeyman food photographers who attend her travel-based food photography workshops around the globe through her company, First We Eat. Her Instagram recently passed 300,000 followers. In the meantime, Eva managed to build her dream life, living in the suburbs, building her homestead in the nature, growing chickens in garden, and working on the fun hobbies while running a very successful business. So tune in to hear us talk about Eva's business success, her tips and tricks for more productive lifestyle, transitioning into her predominant role as an educator and entrepreneur, and about how she built her dream life as a creative. So here we go. Hi, Eva. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for joining me. So, for the listeners that might not know you, could you introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Eva Kosmas Flores, and I'm a food photographer and stylist and cookbook author and food photography educator. So I teach photography online and write about food. And yeah, that's I think that's everything.
Wow, these were a lot of parts. Wow, nice. And you're based in US, right?
Yeah, I'm in Portland, Oregon, so I'm in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay, awesome. And how long have you been photographing?
I first learned photography in a dark room on film when I was 15. So that was 18 years ago now.
Oh,
so,
sick.
so I've been
Uh-huh.
doing it for a long time, but then I learned to use a DSLR, I think when I was around 21 or so was when I got my first digital camera.
Right.
And so then I kind of had to relearn a lot on digital because it's so different from film.
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, so I've been shooting for a while now.
Sick. And food photography from the beginning, or did you?
I just loved all kinds of photography. I would
Mhm.
shoot mainly landscapes, actually, was probably
Oh
what I
yeah.
liked the most when I was first starting because I've always really liked nature. And it's easier because, I've never really enjoyed photographing people because I feel like there's a big social element to that where people can feel really uncomfortable when you're taking a picture. And I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And it's just so much easier to look at, a really cool flower or a pretty tree and take a
Yeah.
picture of that, which I think was also kind of the food is the same, it's just going to sit there and you don't have to direct it or anything
Uh-huh.
the way you do with people. But I started shooting food when I started my blog, which was when I was
Yeah.
22. That's when I was like, well, I'll start photographing food so I
Uh-huh.
can put my recipes up.
Right. So you
Yeah.
started from basically food blogging, and then you developed all the other businesses from that.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't start my blog with the intention of it being a job or anything because
Mhm.
this was also so long ago. Most people weren't monetizing blogs at all. There weren't really the opportunities all the ad stuff that there is now.
Mhm.
So I just started it because I love cooking for my friends. And so I'd always get people asking me, how did you make this? And
Yeah.
I just got tired of explaining it verbally. So I was like, you know what?
Uh-huh.
I'll just start a blog so I can put it on the internet and then send them a link and I don't have to explain the recipe.
Ah,
So
nice.
that was why I started it. And then, it was just the blog is called Adventures in Cooking, and I always
Yeah.
love cooking and trying new food. So
Mhm.
the idea behind it was really I wanted to try a new type of dish or new ingredient, every
Yeah.
time it was a new adventure. And then it just kind of grew from there, especially once my photography got better. That's really when the
Right.
blog started taking off.
Uh-huh. And would
Yeah.
you say that's because of the also growing social media, or the blog itself?
That's a really good question because it kind of happened at the same time, honestly. Instagram started right around then too. And I think I joined maybe 6 months after Instagram first started.
Hmm.
So it probably was like a combination of both.
Right, sick.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because, like, I've been following you, of course, for a while now. I think you were my first biggest inspiration to actually do food photography because, like, when I saw your pictures, I was like, wow. So that's why I'm super happy to also talk to you today because it's
Thank
something
you.
incredible to me, to be honest. But so I've been following you for a while, and what also really inspires me, not only your photography, but your lifestyle, at least what I see. I don't know if that's everything indeed as I see it, but what I see, like that you live, in a house with, with a big garden, like with a little, how do you say it, like yeah, garden where you grow
Yeah,
some
yeah.
vegetables and flowers, and you have chickens, and now you're getting this gorgeous land, like I think it's called Homestead, this type
Yeah.
of land where you're gonna tidy it up and I think build your home there or something. That's your
Yeah.
plan.
That's
Yeah,
the
so
plan.
I'm just wondering, like, and at the same time, you're doing all this, but at the same time, you're doing all your businesses. So, I mean, how do you manage everything all together? Like, it looks like so much things happening right now with your
Yeah.
life.
There's a there is a lot going on, but I really like being organized. I'm a very organized person, and I really like structure in my business, and in my creative process as well. I feel like that's when I create my best work, is if I can give myself kind of like guidelines to follow, or at least like schedule is important to me. So I think that just being really organized is key for me to be able to kind of have all this stuff going on. And I also am just the kind of person who genuinely enjoys being busy. Like, I like having things to do. Like, I just like it. So it works for me to kind of have all these different things going on with, like, my online courses, and then just like shooting and writing recipes for the blog, and then the garden. But a lot of that is kind of cyclical too, which I think helps. So, like,
Right.
with the garden, I don't do a winter garden, so I'm really only
Okay.
active with my garden like half of the year, like
Hmm.
spring through end of summer, early fall. And then in the winter, I kind of get time off of that. And then with my courses, I only do openings like a couple times a year. And so that helps me focus like all my energy on my courses during like the like 3 months that I'm doing, Q&As and launches for those. Um, so I think that really helps too, is kind of like pacing things out so that I'm not like, I try not to do any like course launches in the summer because I know I'm going to be, spending so much time in the garden and everything and cooking and preserving. Yeah. So just kind of timing is really key, I think.
Timing out everything, right? That makes sense. And then let's say, because you still also photograph like all your recipes and everything, do you do that? How many times a week do you schedule something like that then?
Probably like I do more batch working, so I really will do like 1 or 2 times a month. I'll do a shoot, but I'll shoot like a couple things
At the
in a
same time.
day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so that's been really effective too. It
So
just
also
like,
batching.
yeah, batching is something that I'm a big fan of, that I definitely do a lot, because it does help you get so much more done in less time. And, like, especially when you're a creative business owner, when you're a photographer, and you have to do a lot of really different types of tasks, right? So we're like creating and, thinking in an artistic way, but then we also have to like do admin stuff, like reply to email and like keep track of our bookkeeping. So I feel like when I group those similar tasks together on certain days, it helps me get through them a lot faster and like do a
Right.
better job than if I'm scatterbrained and like jumping from one type of thing to another all throughout the day. Then I
Yeah,
just lose track of time that way.
that makes sense. So if I look, let's say, at your day-to-day routines, if that's, if that's something you can share, like how does your
Yeah.
day look like?
Yeah. So usually the things that stay pretty consistent is I wake up and I have coffee and I reply to email. And then I have a treadmill in the basement. So then I'll go on the treadmill for a little bit.
Mhm.
And then
Nice.
after that, I come back. And if it's a shoot day, then I'll start cooking and stuff, and then I'll shoot. And then if it's not a shoot day, then it's usually just more like admin stuff. So
Hmm.
more emails, replying to messages on Instagram or writing blog posts or editing photos that I shot.
Yeah.
And then that will go pretty much until like the late afternoon. And then I usually am like done by like pretty done by 5 at the latest, but usually it's
Mm-hmm.
earlier than that. And then I just kind of knit or,
Oh,
start
that's
making dinner or
nice.
whatever. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So you make sure that you also stop on time. Don't still keep working and working up until, late in the evening. So
Yeah.
does that mean you also don't check email, let's say after 5 or 6 o'clock? Or
Yeah,
does
I
it still
don't.
happen that you, no?
I don't,
That's
because
good. That's really
otherwise,
good.
yeah, otherwise I know that if I do, I'll see something
Uh-huh.
and then I'll be thinking about it. And then I'm not actually relaxing because I'm kind of thinking about that in the back of my mind. And so I really try to not check my email past that point.
Okay, this is something I should take in and do that as well because it stresses me out. And I do. I check. It's like some
A
sort of
compulsion.
impulse.
Yeah.
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 I don't know how you do that, but I should do that. So I should train myself as well because it becomes it's hard to sleep even if I don't answer an email or
Yes.
something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why you got to just not do it.
Yeah.
Just don't, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You
No,
can't take it out of your mind. So it's just better to have a hard line of
and
like,
and
not
stop it.
answering. Yeah, because it'll be
Yeah.
there the next morning and you can reply to it the next
Exactly. And
morning.
it's really good, I think, what you do where you separate, the time that you actually work and you separate the time that you actually do your own like hobbies, your own things. You work on yourself basically because if you don't have that separation as a business owner, it just the whole day becomes your work day. Like yeah.
Exactly. And
So
I
I find that
understand.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is also like where I'm at now, and I definitely didn't always work this way. Like, I have worked the opposite, like where I was just working all the time. I was really stressed out and like kind of crashed and burned, and that's why I don't do that anymore because, after I wrote my second cookbook, especially, like,
Uh-huh.
I was just working so much and I was so tired that after that I was like, I'm not going to put my body through this or my
Hmm.
mental health through that either because it's just so depleting. So that's, I think, part of why I'm really like strict about it now because I know what can happen if I am not strict about that.
Okay, that's good to know. And
Yeah.
how did you like? Was it difficult then to put that stop and start like with this kind of separation and slower and actually concentrating on yourself? I wonder how hard that was to make a switch.
I think it was like easier once I was so tired of being exhausted all the time. That was like,
Right.
that made it easy for me to not do it because I was just like, it's not worth it. Like, I know it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it actually made it easier because I had experienced the extreme of what can happen. And I didn't want to go there again and be that tired all the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because indeed, like another question, what I wanted, and it's kind of I think connected to all this was you again. You build the life that you want. Like you have amazing creative business that you're running. You again have like the beautiful garden and Homestead and everything. So I wonder what were the decisions in your life that you made that led to something like this, where you have this beautiful balance of living the way you want with the business that you want. Like, was it from the beginning that it was like this, or were you following something else? And I don't know, how did you got here?
Necessarily, it definitely wasn't intentional. I can tell you that it kind of just like fell into place. My parents were always really into gardening when I grew up. So, like, gardening and
Mm-hmm.
growing your own, and both my parents are amazing cooks. So, like, cooking,
That's
that was
awesome.
all just a part of what was normal. So I always have loved plants and growing food and cooking food my whole life. And I always wanted to have a big garden.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe, when I was younger, I was like maybe a farm or something. But I think
Yeah.
as I got older, I just wanted a place where I had a lot of space because I grew up
Mm-hmm.
here in Oregon, but then I moved to Los Angeles for college and I lived in
Oh.
Los Angeles for like 9 years
Uh-huh.
before Jeremy, my husband, and I moved back here and bought a house like 7 years ago. Um, and so being in the city for that long, especially Los Angeles, which is like not very green, made me realize how much I needed that as a person and how much I loved that. And so when we moved back, one of the things we were really looking for in a house was a nice big yard, because I was like, I want to have so
Yeah.
many plants.
Yeah.
And so we found this house that we're in now, which I love. And it has a crazy big garden. Um, but I still have totally packed it with plants, and now I need more space. So then I was like, well, long term, I would love for us to have a lot of land, like so much
Uh-huh.
space and privacy, because
Yeah.
we are right next to a busy road, and so like we hear cars passing a lot, and
Right.
it'd just be nice to have space, and like we want to have kids, and like I don't want them living right next to a really busy street and stuff. So um, we were looking for land and ended up finding this property for sale in like the dead of winter
Uh-huh.
that was like definitely in our price range, and it
Yeah.
had a view of the Columbia River, which is like my favorite place. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Yeah.
It's an amazing spot with like it's a huge river with like mountains on either side. And so we went there and put in an offer right away, like as soon as we
Good.
saw it,
Uh-huh.
because they were like, this is magical. And so, yeah, so now our hope and our plan is to build a house out there. Hopefully, we could start construction or like break ground next year, and then be living there in like 2 years from now is the
Mm-hmm.
goal. Yeah.
Ah, that would be so amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. I
2 years.
just can't wait. It'll be so nice to like have so much space and be really deep in nature all the time, because it's so relaxing out there. Like you can't look at the view of like the mountains and the river and not feel like good, just
Yeah.
it makes you feel really calm.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Like, we are also moving more in a forest area actually this summer. Yeah, in
Oh,
June, mid-June,
nice.
like in the forest, and where I can
Oh,
have chickens. So I will need your advices on the chickens and
yes.
stuff.
Definitely.
I'm so excited. That's also like one of the inspirations. I think you were the first one that actually inspired me to also like get chickens and stuff. And then I noticed that more people are getting chickens, and I was like, I want that too. How nice is that to have chickens in the garden? But anyways, we're getting out of the topic now. I'm going all the way in. Okay, yes. So the life that you were building, the nature.
Yeah, so we're just it's not like when I started my blog or anything, I was like, well, I'm gonna eventually like end up with like a homestead and making all this stuff. It was more just like I've always been really interested in being self-sufficient. Like I like to be able to do stuff myself, which in the past has also been hard when I refuse to ask for help even if I need it.
Okay.
But on the good side of that, I love self-sufficiency, and I like being able to DIY as much as I can. And I think
Yeah.
that really ties into, homesteading and a love of nature is like, how can I be as self-sufficient as possible where I have the least impact on the environment around me? um like what do I really need to thrive? And I think that like especially the events of the past year have also put into perspective like what's really important for us
Mm-hmm.
too. And I think that just like having a really solid home, and having the security of being able to provide for myself is really important too. So
Yeah.
like, when we're out there, we'll be able to grow so much of our own food. And the house that we're going to build, we want it to be off grid, so we want to just use wind and solar energy,
Ah,
for the house and
nice.
stuff. So
Uh-huh.
I'm really excited to bring it into fruition. And we recently have been talking with this building company in Portland that's like a green building company, and they have a lot of experience with like solar, wind,
Mm-hmm.
gray water systems, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited about the
Ah, that's so
process.
exciting. And the
Yeah,
good thing is that actually, like, you can work from home, so that's also not an issue of living further away from, let's say, big cities or anything, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I think, also an important decision to make and build your life that you want, is the ability to be able to be free to work wherever you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, which makes
exactly.
sense. Out of curiosity, because again, you have so many different businesses, and you mentioned that you love like self. Now the English words are out of my head, but like sufficiency, but also like you don't really like asking for help, as you mentioned. So
Yeah.
I wonder, do you indeed work alone, or do you have some sort of team around you that helps? Let's say with social media or anything else. for you
Yeah.
in terms of business?
I have an assistant, Sophia, and I've been working with her for probably like 4 years now, maybe even 5 years. I have to double check, but she's so wonderful. And so she manages a lot of she manages my entire Pinterest account. Sometimes she helps me on Instagram if it's during a launch and I get like a lot of the same types of like questions over and over again. She'll like help me with those. And she helps me on set sometimes, so I'll have her come and be like an extra set of hands in shots, or if I'm pouring, then I'll have her like do
Oh,
continuous
yeah.
shooting while like I'm doing the thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, she'll help me with like cooking and stuff and help me with cleaning up after shoots.
Yeah.
And really just like, absolutely anything she can like lend a hand with. She's so happy to do it. And she's also really, what do you I'm trying to think of the word where it's like she takes a lot of initiative. So if she sees something that she's like, I could probably help with this, she'll ask me and just be like, do you want me to help with this? I noticed, X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. Just really helpful. Oh, and she helps me with the courses, like building them out in the
Mhm.
course platform that I have, like uploading files for the students to
Mhm.
download, which like takes a lot of time to upload like
Oh
so
gosh,
many of
yeah.
the files. So she'll like help me with doing that and stuff too. And she's just the best. But I like working with just her because
Uh-huh.
it just feels really intimate and she kind of knows how I work and knows what I need and knows all the systems that I use and stuff,
Yeah.
and she's just great. And I've worked with a couple interns before, but there's no one that even comes close to like how just attentive she is. She's great.
And
Yeah.
you mentioned 4 years you work with her, right? That's
Yeah.
also a long time, yeah. And is
Yeah.
she working full time then or not for
No,
you?
she's part-time because she
Part-time.
does other stuff. So like before the pandemic, she was doing also a lot of like service industry stuff. So like
Mhm.
working at restaurants and things. And she's also a freelance stylist, so she does like styling for shoots as well.
Oh, that's nice. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Okay, now I would love to dive more into food photography itself. So I wonder because I see you photograph, of course, a lot for your own recipes, and you are a food photographer. But do you right now also work with the clients, or do you concentrate more on educational side of it?
I would say definitely concentrate more on the educational side of it. I do still work with clients, but that's not my like main time consuming job
Hmm.
anymore. Like I do enjoy working with clients, but I definitely don't do it as much as I used to do it. Because I just don't have time. Because the
Hmm.
courses do take up a lot of time to make and to like just be attentive, and I really want to be there for my students. So it makes more sense for me to focus more on the courses than doing as much freelance work. And it's not as enjoyable to do freelance shoots because it's not usually totally your vision. So the ones that I do choose to do, because I have the luxury of being able to say yes and no to different clients, which I know is a luxury because I was not always in this situation. I've definitely been in situations before where I had to say yes to everybody because I needed the money. But so now I can just say yes to the projects that I'm really, really excited about. Like, for
Yeah,
example, my friend Gregory Gordet's cookbook that I've been working on shooting on and off for like 3 years.
yeah.
That's coming out in the spring that I'm so excited about.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like being able to say yes to projects like that where you're like, this is an awesome project, this is an awesome person. Like I'm so excited about the
Yeah,
food and the creative vision that he had for the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. When did you felt it was the time to switch and concentrate more on educational part versus actually working for clients?
It wasn't like a conscious choice, honestly. It just kind of sort of went that way. Like
Uh-huh.
I was doing, shooting for clients and stuff, but I really enjoyed teaching a lot. Like my mom
Mhm.
was a teacher and before she met my dad and they ended up starting a restaurant. And then my sister is also a teacher as well. She's a school teacher. And so I think that's just something that I always is just part of who I am. Like I really like nurturing things, like helping stuff grow, which is like also ties into the gardening too. But
Right.
it's just something that I really like to help people and watch
Uh-huh.
them get better and improve at stuff. It's very rewarding for me. So I started my first online photography course Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been as early as like 2016, maybe might have been the first one
Wow.
that I did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And the course that I do has evolved over the years. But that was the first online one I did. And then I switched, I think, to and then I started doing workshops in addition to the online course, like in-person ones, probably in 2017, I think was maybe the first one that I did.
Are both the gatherings then or not the workshops, the ones that you do abroad, or do you also do the ones in Portland?
I do them actually almost entirely abroad. I don't really
Yeah.
do in-person workshops in Portland. I think I've done one once, which was
Mm.
really fun, but I really like being able to use the like workshops as a way to like go to beautiful places
Yeah.
and share that experience with other creatives because
Mm.
like I mean, I do think Oregon is a very beautiful place, but for me, I live here all the time, so it's also not as like exciting on my end. So I really love being able to go somewhere new for me,
Yeah.
or somewhere that I have been before but is not my home. You know, like Croatia, I do workshops there like for several years in a row, and we keep going back because it's just the most amazing place.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to find a really special spot
Uh-huh.
and share that with somebody else who has the same taste that you do. And so everyone, I feel like the people who are interested in the workshops, just from the aesthetic of like seeing, you know, the activities that we do and the
Yeah.
photos and like what it's going to be like, it already attracts a certain type of person that's like so excited
Right.
about that kind of a place. And so being able to share that with people is just such an awesome experience because it is so magical. Like that area of Croatia is just like a fairy tale, and it's crazy when people see
Croatia
it.
is beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, for the first time in person,
But
it's
I can imagine indeed like that you attract exactly the group of people that are similar. So the whole experience
yeah.
just becomes extremely nice because you can bond with everyone, right? In a way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like the bond, how quickly we all bond together is insane, especially at the Croatia workshop because some of my friends, Mona and Jarrett, who do wood fire cooking, they like cater
Yeah.
the workshop. And so there's this huge old
Oh,
hearth in
that's
the
so nice.
kitchen. So at night, you know, after dinner's done and Mona and Jarrett go to bed, Jarrett will leave the fire going, and so like all the workshop attendees end up just huddling around the fire with like some wine or whatever or tea, and
Yeah.
just like chat and hang out. And you know, we've been shooting all day, but at night I always keep the nights free to just either if you know people
Hmm.
jet lag they can sleep or they can hang out and just
Yeah.
chat. So it's just such a nice bonding experience, like all these creative women together just hanging
Oh,
out.
that's really, really nice.
I
Yeah, it
love
sounds so
it.
nice.
I really miss them. I'm excited for it to be safe and for us to gather again will be really special.
Probably next summer then, right? Because this summer, or are you planning to do any of them this summer as well?
No, I'm going to wait until May 2022 is when we have the house booked for Croatia.
Makes
So
sense.
I'm hoping that, you know, whoever wants to be vaccinated and can be
Yeah,
will be by then. And I'm
should
gonna,
be.
I think, require it as a part of attendance. Just you need to be vaccinated just for the
Okay, yeah,
safety of everyone involved.
that makes
Um,
sense.
but yeah, I'm hoping that it'll be possible for people to be vaccinated by then, so we can all
I
hang out.
think so. It should be. I mean,
Yeah,
it should be.
that's how I feel. I'm like, it's gotta
Yeah,
be. That's like over a year from now, so I feel
it
like
has
that's
to be. It
plenty of
has to be.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be fine. I hope. I hope because yeah, if not, then
Then
no, it
who?
should be fine. Jesus,
Yeah,
don't.
don't even think about it. It's not. Don't even let that thought enter your mind.
Yeah, but nice. So just to dive into, let's say, if you dive deeper into those gatherings, what do you usually teach the attendants in terms of the curriculum?
Yeah, so it's usually, well, it depends. Sometimes I was doing like a standard photography workshop, which was more like entry level photography. But I had a lot of people who had taken a workshop before but wanted to come again but didn't want the
Yeah.
same content. So then B and I started doing an advanced workshop as well. And the workshop that I host in Croatia, I've been hosting with B. Lubas, who's like
Uh-huh.
another amazing food photographer.
Yeah, for sure. I should
She's the
invite her too. Oh, that would be so much
yeah,
fun if she agrees.
she's so sweet. She's the best. And so with the advanced content, it's basically like focusing more, I think, on like capturing motion and like shooting yourself in frame and
Mm-hmm.
cinemagraphs. We also teach like cinemagraphs in that one too, and more like advanced composition theory and like color theory and stuff. Whereas with the entry level, it's just more like your like understanding ISO, shutter speed, aperture, like more basic, like level, so that they can like practice that hands on and have us helping them if they have problems. And then more like general styling, like balance, layering. I mean, we do talk about color, but maybe not like as in depth with like color theory and stuff. And then we do like editing demos as well, so like Lightroom, and that's nice too to do with me and B, because we both edit and use Lightroom a little bit differently. So I think it's really helpful
Oh
for the
yeah,
students to see, not
yeah,
everyone's going to edit the exact same way, and that's totally okay, because you can still end up with a beautiful image however you decide to use the program to your
yeah.
advantage. And then we always do like cultural expeditions, so like
Oh
we'll
yeah.
go like wine tasting, or we'll go like truffle foraging, or like walk around this like local town that's really cool. And
Uh-huh.
just to break it up so you're not always having to be thinking and learning. It's nice to give your mind a break with like a fun cultural activity too.
Oh, that sounds really, 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 really nice.
They're
Oh,
so fun. I
I
really want to go to a workshop, and so I can just like sit there and enjoy it.
right. Jeez.
Maybe next year I'll sign up for somebody else's, just to like have some good food and wine and take pictures of a pretty place.
I know. That sounds really, really lovely. Jeez, and in the places like Croatia or Tuscany or something. Oh,
Yes, I love Italy
amazing.
too. So special.
Nice. So these are the gatherings, and now you also have, of course, the online workshops. Sorry, online courses that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I saw that even recently you launched something. Could you tell more about your courses?
Yeah, so I have three different ones at the moment. So I have my photography, styling, and branding online course through my company, First We Eat. And that one's at firstweeat.co. And that one's kind of like my all encompassing, really in depth course that's just dives deep into photography, lighting, styling, editing. You also learn cinemagraphs,
Oh yeah.
lenses, camera settings. Like it's super in depth. There's like a crazy ebook that's really long that goes with it, and all sorts of other stuff. And so that one is the one I've been like building on and adding to over the years. And so that's like very comprehensive. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like some pre recorded videos that the students can go back to as much as they want, because it's all
Yeah.
lifetime access. But then
Yeah.
I also have live Q&As that I
Oh,
do with the
that's
students
nice.
too. Yeah, so we do that like every 2 weeks for the first 3 months of the course, and those are super fun. And I switched to doing them on Zoom this year. I was doing them on Facebook, through like Facebook group Q&A stuff or Facebook Live, but Zoom's much better because I can actually see the students' face, whereas before it was just like typing. So that's one of them. And then or I've done a virtual workshop with B, Lubas. So
Oh
we did
yeah.
that. Yeah, we started that
Nice.
in November was the first time we opened that up, because, since we couldn't do our in-person workshops anymore, we really wanted to bring the feeling and the knowledge and experience you get from an in-person workshop to more of a virtual experience. So that one's more like a fly on the wall, or like shadowing situation, where we just shot ourselves from start to finish,
Mm-hmm.
styling and shooting a scene, talking through like every step. And then there's like some fun editing videos and stuff in there. um, and so that we're actually going to open up again in May, which I'm
Oh,
excited about.
nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last course that I have is Creative Business School, and that one is just focused on how to run a business when you're creative, which
Uh-huh.
is a lot more complicated than it seems, as you know, because we have to do so many different things. And
Yeah.
that, kind of talk about what I talked about earlier, trying to balance different stuff. So, I learned a lot about how to run my business better through, lots of hands-on experience and doing it the wrong way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm kind of sharing all of that there, like
In the
how
course.
to have more balance with your personal life and your work, batch working,
Yeah.
time management, finances, all that stuff. And also like making sure you still feel inspired at the end of it, because sometimes when you're doing all the other things in
Yeah.
marketing, you lose that creative spark and inspiration. So yeah, that's what that one's about.
Oh, that's also sounds exciting, like an important one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and that one's like this year I'm doing it. If you get the VIP level, I'm doing live Q&As all year. So it's
Mhm.
almost like a mastermind. We get the support for all of 2021. So I'm only opening, I already opened it in January, and that's the only time I'm doing it this year. And then I'll open it
Okay,
up
right.
next year again. But it's just nice to have that
So
like
it's almost
support.
like a coaching, like
Yeah.
you're almost like a coach to the students, aren't you? Like a mentor coach in a way.
Yeah, definitely. So that is actually pretty much like what it is. There's like pre-recorded videos, but then there is, just like my other course, I do the live Q&As for like the
Yeah.
first 3 months, but that's for everybody who signs up. And then for the folks who sign up for the VIP level, they also get a one-to-one session with me in addition to that,
Yeah.
and they get the live Q&As all year instead of
Yeah.
just for the first 3 months, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's nice. Super nice. Out of curiosity, did you also had a coach like or a mentor for your own business, or did you learn everything yourself?
I definitely had a mentor, not like I've never talked to her, but she's been a huge help for me in my business. Amy Porterfield. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever heard of her. She does like online marketing.
Okay.
And she has a podcast. I think it's called like Online Marketing Made Easy, but she's just been like so helpful. And I've taken a few of her online courses that are about like,
Hmm.
marketing, and online courses about online courses and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really, really helped me with my business a lot. And she just seems
Mhm.
like a really cool lady.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. I'm gonna check it out then.
Yeah,
Check
I
it
highly
out.
recommend
Yeah.
her. She's so helpful, so great.
Nice. Okay, awesome. And then education, let's say, because you have so many different courses and you concentrate so much on it, it's basically your main income source right now, right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the pandemic, it's like
Wow.
I haven't been able to teach workshops abroad, and then the like sponsored content really took a hit because,
As well.
marketing. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I didn't get any sponsored offers, I think, for like 6 months, like from March until like September of
Mhm.
last year. So it was definitely took a hit too. So really grateful for the community that I have in the
Yeah.
and all my students, because we wouldn't have been able to get through last year without that. That was our bread and butter. So it was super helpful.
Yeah, it's great that your business is so much also based online. I think that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that we did do purposefully, but that was because, I was like wanting to start a family, and so it's like, well, how can I make it so I don't have to travel as much and I can work from home
Yeah.
more but still teach people.
Hmm.
And like, because I'm a pretty social person, so I really like to still interact with other people. And so that was we last or the year before the pandemic, so like in 2019 we were kind of like trying to set up the foundation of like doing more online stuff.
Yeah.
So that ended up working out pretty well for when we, couldn't go anywhere anymore.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do I have? Because I don't remember anymore. Yeah. 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 Gosh, I feel like I asked everything in between now, so it's yeah.
That's
Okay,
fine.
so I think we can slowly close up because I already asked you. I held you for like 40 minutes. I'm sorry for
No,
that.
that's fine. I enjoyed
So I
it.
have like a couple last closing questions. Well, first of
Yeah.
all, do you have like what's your future plans? Do you have something exciting coming up?
Yes, that's a good question. I think I wrote down a couple things because it's like I
Yeah.
don't want to forget to like see. So we, we're my big focus right now is mm, getting the building process started for the homestead. So I've been like in the process of designing our house, and my friend who's an interior designer who's amazing. Her name is Sam Struck. Her Instagram is structured. She's fantastic, and so she's cleaning up the design that I made for the house and like making it actually usable.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because she's like, she knows how to do all that CAD software stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I feel like that's something that I'm just acknowledging is going to take up a lot of my time and like bandwidth and stuff, is the process of getting the house planned and working with the builder and getting it really designed and like getting all
Mm-hmm.
the permits, and like
Yeah.
with our homestead it's also in this very special land use zone called the National Scenic Area. So there's very strict building codes about the
Right.
type of house you can have there because it really needs to blend in, with
Yeah.
the natural surroundings. So like we can only paint certain colors and, there's all sorts of stuff like that. So I think that's going to take a lot of energy just to make sure everything is like to the T and like
Yeah.
will get approved by the committee. So I'm excited for that. And then something that I've been thinking about for a while, but I haven't done yet, but that I would like to do eventually, is actually like I'd love to do a podcast
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
but
Yeah.
like focused on like home and garden and
Uh-huh.
design because I've gotten so into just not just design with like food and stuff, but more like interior design with like
Yeah.
especially the process of building the house, like looking at so many amazing books about that and stuff. So I'd love to just talk about like garden, home, food
That's
stuff.
convenient. I'm definitely going to listen to that because I'm interested in the garden because I'm going to build my own garden. We're also planning to build a house in the near future as well. So I'm going to
Oh,
listen to the
nice.
podcast.
Oh,
It's
excellent.
perfect. I'm waiting for it
Perfect.
then. Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. Really cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're launching the podcast already or it's just
No,
an
it's just
idea?
it's an idea. I'm like, well, I could start on it soon, but then at the same time I know that I feel like as soon as I would like seriously start booking guests or whatever, then all the home planning stuff would kick up and then I'd be like, now I have
Right.
like too much to do. So I was like trying to just wait wait a little bit.
Right. Because again, you want to build that balance, right? Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good thinking.
exactly.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. And it seems like you're having a lot of fun with your work. So, what is most fun about your work? What do you love the most about it?
I love the freedom. I love that I can do what I want when I want. And that's I think my biggest love was just being able to like if I'm having a day where I don't feel creative, being able to have structured my workflow in a way where I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like knit today and maybe reply to a few emails.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow when I feel more creative, I'm gonna, do my shoot and stuff. So I think that's what I appreciate most is just the freedom and the flexibility that I have.
Beautiful. Right. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Awesome. Okay, so like another question would be, do you have some recommended books or blogs or influencers to follow to learn more about food photography? And of course, your courses is one of the things for sure I would recommend. But is there anything else that you can recommend starting food photographers?
Yes, definitely. So, B. Lubas, her book is out, and I would highly recommend that. I think it's creative food photography. I would highly recommend that to anybody who's interested, especially if you're on a budget, because books are so affordable, and that book is just packed with amazing information. So I definitely recommend that. And then as far as like really gorgeous imagery for like inspiration, of course also B, but Linda Lomolino is a favorite of mine, and she's her work has been so beautiful over so many years. So like you can just go on her blog and scroll through like years and years worth of posts, and she's like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. So she's great for inspiration and just like analyzing her images, really looking at them and learning from them. And I really also gotten into looking at more like lifestyle type of photography as
Mm-hmm.
well. And Stella and hold on, I wrote down the last name. I want to make sure I say it. And Andronikou, she's Greek
Okay.
or
Okay.
Cypriot. She's Cypriot. Her
Uh-huh.
Instagram is Stella and
Yeah.
so Stella and then AND, and her work is super beautiful because she takes these insane photos in Girona, Spain, which is where she lives, in like the old town of like her like a friend like in this like beautiful medieval stone building, or like out at this beautiful like pond where everything's like super green. And she does food shots too, so on her feed you'll see there's like a mix of like lifestyle
Uh-huh.
and like more wide lifestyle stuff and more like close-up food shots. But
Okay.
I just love her mood, like just the moods she creates in her photos is awesome. So highly recommend looking at her work too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, last question would be, where can the listeners find you?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram at Eva Kosmas Flores. So KOSMASFLORES. Um, I have a blog, adventuresinCooking.com, which is where I share all my seasonal recipes and like updates about the homestead. I teach photography courses through firstweeat.co, and I teach the Creative Business School course through creativebusinessschool.com. And I think, oh, and I have my 2 cookbooks. Sorry, just like remembering. And then I
Yeah.
have a cookbook called First We Eat. That's a seasonal book, and then another one, Adventures in Chicken, and that's just about a bunch of chicken recipes.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, awesome, awesome. There's so many names. Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Eva. Eva, right? I'm pronouncing it incorrect. Eva?
Yeah, Eva. Yeah, but I mean,
Awesome.
I accept Ava too because that's the traditional European pronunciation. So like either one is totally fine.
Okay, thank you so much, Eva, for joining me on this podcast. It was super great talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Take care.